Welcome to Aflame for Christ, homilies to set your heart on fire with love for Jesus Christ. My name is Father Joseph Gill, priest of the Diocese of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and you've joined us at this graduation homily. So what is success? What does it look like? How do you define it? You know, in the church, we've had some very successful people, right? We've had many towering scholars in the history of the church. Aquinas, Bonaventure, Augustine. We've had many saints who have built enduring movements, like St. Ignatius of Loyola building up the Jesuits, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton founding the Catholic school system in America. We've had many saints whose lives have impacted thousands, like the great missionaries, St. Francis Xavier, or of course Mother Teresa. And maybe some of us are called to change history, to impact the world. Maybe some of us are going to be remembered long after our death for our contributions and the memorials we've built and the mighty deeds we accomplished, the brilliant words we've spoken. But I would hazard to guess that the vast majority of Christians are actually called to live a rather hidden life, unfamous and unknown. Most of us are not going to have a Wikipedia page named after us, right? Most of us are not going to be remembered apart from a tombstone with our names and the dates of our birth and death. Which is why the greatest thing you can ever do, the most important work of your entire life, is to become holy. Not necessarily a canonized saint, but a small outpost of the love of God here in this world. As Archbishop Charles Chaput once said, the only people who truly change the world are saints. But I think St. Teresa Benedicta of the Cross put it best when she said, and I paraphrase, "The world does not need what you have or what you do. The world needs who you are." The greatest work you ever do is going to be primarily interior, yielding your heart and soul more and more to Christ, that you may decrease and he may increase. Because the world doesn't need your talents and gifts. The world needs Christ living through your talents and gifts. Your gifts and talents weren't given to glorify you, they were given to glorify God. What good is it to build skyscrapers and pass laws and make money and win championships if the only thing that's eternal, your soul, is left abandoned, dark and empty? You know, we live in a world that focuses a lot on action, but very little on stillness. There's a whole lot of noise, but very little silence. There's a lot of opinions, but very little wisdom. A few weeks ago, when our new Holy Father was elected, I was shocked at how many people asked me for my comments and my opinion. Well, why do I or any of us need to comment about every event that occurs in the world? Sometimes it's better just to be still, silent, and pray, and do the interior work of daily conversion. You know, as you graduate, you will be encouraged to change the world, to make the world a better place. Seize the day. But the world already has a savior, and it's not you. I don't mean this to discount all the good you've done and are going to continue to do, but we have to realize that making the world a better place is only possible with the one savior of the human race. You know, we need to make the world a better place because it's been wounded by sin, which means that the antidote is grace and love, not more humanistic solutions. So as you go forth to conquer college, high school, and the rest of the world, just remember that the most enduring and important thing you can do is not what you do out there in the world, but what you allow Christ to do in your soul. When you are transformed into Christ through grace, this is what the world needs. For the world needs not what you do or what you have, the world needs who you are. I want to close with a saint story, one who really realized that the interior life is what changes the world. In the early 1900s in rural Portugal, a young girl named Alexandra was living a very simple, humble life. She was uneducated and she toiled on her family's farm, but she had a very devout faith and often picked flowers to adorn Mary's altar. She loved to pray the rosary and to keep herself holy. When she was 14, she was on the upper floor of her family's house when robbers broke in. And she was afraid for her life, so she jumped out the window and broke her spine in the fall. From that time on, she was painfully crippled. At first, she would drag herself to Mass hunched over, but pretty soon became paralyzed and bedridden. She prayed for a cure, but more than that, she prayed to offer her life to Christ as a living sacrifice for the salvation of souls. And for 30 years, she did nothing earth-shattering. She smiled constantly, prayed without ceasing, and simply offered all her sufferings for Christ and for souls. Even her prayer was suffering. She rarely experienced Christ's presence, but she persevered nonetheless. For the final 13 years of her life, she only consumed the Eucharist and no other food, a fact verified by a team of medical doctors who observed her around the clock. But when she died in the 1950s, she had the following words written on her tombstone. She said, "Sinners, If the dust of my body can be of help to save you, come close, walk over it, kick it around until it disappears. But never sin again. Do not offend Jesus anymore. Sinners, how much I want to tell you. Do not risk losing Jesus for all eternity, for he is so good. Enough with sin. Love Jesus. Love him. She is now blessed, Alexandra da Costa, a mystic and a victim soul. In the eyes of the world, she was very much a nothing person. She accomplished nothing. She could literally do nothing, being paralyzed. But only in eternity will we see how this poor woman changed the history of the world, not because of what she did, but because who she was when she let Christ reign in her hearts. This is your mission too. You're not necessarily to seek after great deeds or fame or success as the world views it, but to fulfill God's will for your life. If he lives in you, then whether you become the president or a garbage collector, your life will change the world, because the world doesn't need what you do. The world needs who you are, if you are Christ's.